So, Hugh, your organization, American Life League, recently put out a report, a really fascinating report about CEO salaries at Planned Parenthood. Before we get into what you found,
Sure.
why do you guys dig into this material? Why is it important to look at this?
Well, I think it's really important to look at it for a couple of reasons. Number one, Planned Parenthood has been around as long as abortion has been around, right? Their founder, Margaret Sanger, if you know anything about her, the founder of Planned Parenthood, she drove the whole movement to legalize birth control. She drove the whole movement to legalize abortion. She was really at the center of the culture of death. And so, the American Life League and Judy Brown in particular, our founder, my mother, she's been involved in this movement since day one, since Roe versus Wade, even before that. And Planned Parenthood really, it's lauded. It's lauded by popular culture. It's lauded by society as something good, and it's not. I mean, they are very much at the center of not just the abortion industry, but also the contraceptive industry, the transgender ideology now, pornography to children, sex education that's just abhorrent, the removal of parental rights. I mean, Planned Parenthood is painted as something that it's not. And it's important that we expose the truth. And CEO salaries and the CEO report is something we found that people are very interested in.
So let's talk about that, because I think at the end of the day, most people understand, okay, some people are going to make, when you're leading an organization, devoting your life to it in the context of a ministry, Planned Parenthood is not a ministry, we understand, okay, some people are going to pay a little bit more for that or make a little bit more money. But when it comes to Planned Parenthood, we do often hear, there's this war on women and they need extra money, and they're constantly fundraising because, they're desperate for their services to be provided and people need them. What did you find in the report? What are people making in the CEO roles at Planned Parenthood?
Well, that's a fantastic question. So, the way that they operate, they have the Planned Parenthood Federation of America. That's sort of the mothership. And then underneath that, there are 53 affiliates. And those affiliates could have any number of clinics in any number of geographic regions. And of those 53 affiliates, the 53 CEOs, the average salary of those 53 CEOs is $317,000 a year. And we also found that of those 53 CEOs, the majority of those are white people, right? The majority of those are white people. When Planned Parenthood, its business, 70+% of their clinics, of their abortuaries, are basically within walking distance of minority neighborhoods. And we also know that Planned Parenthood, the state of New York as an example, the city of New York rather, the city of New York last year and the year before, there were more abortions for Black Americans than there were live births. And Planned Parenthood is responsible for most of those.
What do you think? Okay, so an average of over 300,000, around $300,000 for the CEO role in these affiliates. What do you think this says in your view? Obviously, you're not big fans of Planned Parenthood and American Life League, but what does this say about Planned Parenthood? What does this tell you?
It just shows you, Billy, how greedy they are, right? So we've done our homework. So if you look at all the nonprofits across America, the major nonprofits, the average salary of the founder, the leader, the CEO, the chairman is the leader of the organization is about $180,000. And if you take out the bottom few people that average that 317,000, the average goes up to 400,000, right? The highest paid person, the number one affiliate, is over 600,000. The next two or three are 500,000. Then there's 20 of them in the $400,000 range. That's not a nonprofit, right? And when you murder 380,000 children a year, and brace yourself, and you receive an all-time high last year, 670 million tax dollars. Your money, my money. You and I are both being paid to do a job right now. Whatever percentage of this few minutes we're talking goes to taxes, they get $670 million. So to me, it's outrageous. They're not a nonprofit. They profit off death. And it's something that Christians need to pray about. I think, it's something as Christians we need to be aware of. And it's something, more importantly, we need to tell the truth to our neighbors. Because I recently, my father passed away a year and a half ago. I was visiting my mother. We were watching a game show, and one of the participants, the charity they were playing for, was Planned Parenthood. The wonderful Planned Parenthood. It's not the wonderful Planned Parenthood. They destroy families. When you murder a child, you not only murder a child, you scar women, you destroy families, you eliminate God's posterity. That's the entire intent. So it's something we need to be aware of, communicate, and pray for the conversion of hearts.
Now, if people want to read this report, see the report in its entirety, where can they go to do that?
all.org. You'll see a link right there that says Stop Planned Parenthood. The CEO report and the full report is available for free right there.
Now, before we go, has Planned Parenthood responded to this in any way? Has anybody asked them to respond to it? And have you heard any? And again, this is something that over the years has been looked at. Has there ever been a response on this?
So there was a response in the early 2000s where they listed Judy Brown, Jim Sedlak, and the American Life League, all three of them individually, as their top three number one enemies of Planned Parenthood. And we used that and beat them with it. And so that went down pretty quickly. And they have not responded since. I think they'd rather ignore it. But thank you for asking that question. I would discuss and debate any of them anytime, anywhere, anytime, because the work they're doing is evil, it's murderous, and it destroys families. And anything that harms families is against the will of the Lord.
Well, the assumption before we go, to me, if you're trying to fundraise based on a perceived need, and I want people to hear me here, I'm not justifying the need, but in their mind, there is this perceived need. People need them. They're essential to all of these communities. Then you would assume that an extra 100, 200, 300,000 here or there in salaries would go towards that need, not necessarily that salary. So it would be very interesting to hear them explain that. I don't know if you have any insight or you want to add to that at all before we go.
So I will say this. So if you look at how they list abortion as a percentage of their services, it's very small. The reason for that is that, Billy, if your wife, if someone were to go in there and they were to be seen, everything that's done that day is listed as a service. You might have your temperature taken. You might have your blood pressure taken. You might be given an Advil. All three of you might be seen by a doctor. You might have an evaluation. All five of those things are listed as a service for that day. And anything else that's done to you is listed as a service. Someone having an abortion might have 18 services, including post-op, and one of those services was an abortion. So it is an absolutely disingenuous information that they put out in terms of abortion being a small percentage of their business. It is their business. It's exactly what they do. And the money that you just asked about, I think that it takes a lot of money, and I think it requires a lot of money to have people die into their own conscience and their own will and their own understanding. To be able to stomach what it is that they do. And they pay their people very well to do that.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time today to bring us through this, explain it to us, and people can head over to the site there and read the report. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Bill. I really appreciate the opportunity.